7 strategies to defeat your enemy without fighting him. Stoicism. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that teaches us to live in accordance with nature and reason, without succumbing to external circumstances or internal passions. The Stoics believed that true freedom and happiness depend on our relationship to what happens to us, not on the events themselves. They also gave practical advice on how to deal with enemies and abusers without resorting to aggression and violence. In this article, we will look at 7 strategies to help you defeat your enemy without fighting them, drawing on the wisdom of Stoicism. Distinguish what depends on you from what doesn't. The first and most important principle of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. It holds that we must distinguish what depends on us from what does not. That which depends on us is our thoughts, feelings, desires, intentions, actions. That which does not depend on us is everything else: body, possessions, reputation, other people, nature, fate. The Stoics argued that we should focus on what depends on us and be indifferent to what does not. This will give us inner peace and self-confidence. How does this help us defeat the enemy? Very simple. We must realize that the enemy is not something that depends on us, but something that does not. We cannot control his behavior, thoughts, feelings, actions. We can only control our attitude toward him. Therefore, we must not give it power over our moods, our peace of mind, our happiness. We must keep our balance and judgment, not reacting to his provocations, insults, threats. We must remember that he cannot harm us unless we let him. We must be firm and courageous without sinking to his level. Number 2, turn obstacles into opportunities. The second principle of Stoicism is turning obstacles into opportunities. It is that we should use everything that happens to us as an occasion to develop our virtues, to improve our character, to enrich our experience. The Stoics argued that there are no bad or good events and only our attitude toward them. We can make a useful lesson out of any event if we look at it in the right way. How does this help us defeat our enemy? Again, very simply, we must realize that the enemy is not an obstacle, but an opportunity. An opportunity for what? To exercise our virtues such as wisdom, justice, moderation, courage. We can use the enemy as a mirror in which we can see our strengths and weaknesses, our progress and mistakes. We can use the enemy as a stimulus that pushes us to self-improvement or to introspection, to self-criticism. We can use the enemy as a teacher who teaches us valuable lessons that we could not have learned from others. We can use the enemy as a partner with whom we can compete, compare, cooperate, negotiate. We can use the enemy as a friend to whom we can show compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, love. Number 3, be aware of your thoughts and feelings. The third principle of Stoicism is to be attentive to our thoughts and feelings. It is that we should watch our inner dialogue, our judgments, and our emotions. The Stoics argued that we do not suffer from what happens to us, but from how we perceive it. We do not react to facts, but to our interpretations of facts. Therefore, we must be critical and conscious when we think and feel something. We must check to see if our thoughts and feelings are in line with reality, if they are useful and reasonable, if they are consistent with our values and goals. How does this help us defeat the enemy? Again, very simply, we must realize that the enemy is not what triggers negative emotions in us, but how we perceive him. We must not allow it to affect our mood, our well-being, our self-esteem. We must control our thoughts and feelings and not let them control us. We must avoid unreasonable and harmful thoughts such as anger, hatred, envy, fear, pity, resentment. We must cultivate reasonable and helpful thoughts such as calmness, respect, trust, courage, generosity, kindness. We must remember that we cannot change the enemy, but we can change ourselves. Act according to your conscience and your duty. The fourth principle of Stoicism is to act according to one's conscience and according to one's duty. It is that we should follow our inner voice, our reason, our true self. The Stoics argued that we are all part of one whole, one mind, one nature. Therefore, we must live in harmony with ourselves, with others, with the world. We must fulfill our role in society, our function in the cosmos, our mission in life. We must be true to our principles, our values, our goals. How does this help us defeat the enemy? Again, very simply, we must realize that the enemy is not something that prevents us from acting according to our conscience and our duty, but something that tests our strength, our sincerity, our loyalty. We must not give in to his influence, his temptations, his pressures. We must act in accordance with our conscience and our duty, despite his opposition, his criticism, his obstacles. We must be honest and responsible while without betraying our convictions and our responsibilities. 5. Be temperate and moderate. The fifth principle of Stoicism is restraint and moderation. It is that we should control our passions, our desires, our appetites. The Stoics argued that we should avoid excesses, extremes. We should strive for the golden mean, for balance, for harmony. We should be modest and temperate, neither pursuing empty pleasures nor avoiding inevitable suffering. We must be prudent and rational, not submitting to our impulses or ignoring our needs. How does this help us defeat the enemy? Again and again, very simply. We must realize that the enemy is not something that stirs up passions in us, but something that tests us for moderation, for restraint, for self-control. We must not allow him to stir up greed, anger, fear, jealousy, pride in us. We must not allow it to weaken willpower, patience, endurance, respect, humility in us. We must be restrained and moderate without giving him cause for ridicule, for pity, for contempt. 6. Be grateful and contented. The sixth principle of Stoicism is gratitude and contentment. It holds that we should appreciate what we have, rather than complain about what we don't have. The Stoics argued that we should be happy with what nature has given us, what fate has given us, what life has brought us. We should be grateful for everything around us, everything that touches us, everything that inspires us. We should be happy with ourselves, with our situation, with our achievement. How does that help us defeat the enemy? Again and again. Very simply. We must realize that the enemy is not something that takes something of value away from us, but something that teaches us to appreciate what we have. We must not let it affect our gratitude, our contentment, our happiness. We should be grateful and content, not envious of it, not self-pitying, not pining for the past. We should be happy and optimistic while not discouraged and not despairing while not giving up. 7. Be kind and compassionate. The seventh and final principle of Stoicism is kindness and compassion. It holds that we should love and help other people rather than hate and harm them. The Stoics argued that we are all brothers and sisters, children and parents, friends and associates. Therefore, we should live in friendship and harmony, in cooperation and mutual aid, in respect and trust. We must be kind and compassionate without causing suffering, and not indifferent to suffering. How does this help us defeat the enemy? For the last time, very simply, we must realize that the enemy is not something that is evil and cruel, but something that needs kindness and mercy. We must not respond to him by doing to him what he does to us, but by doing to him what we would like him to do to us. We are to be kind and compassionate, not retaliating against him, not despising him, not ignoring him. We are to be merciful and forgiving without resenting him, holding a grudge against him or rejecting him. In conclusion, we can say that Stoicism offers us 7 strategies to help us defeat the enemy without fighting him. These strategies are based on the following virtues: reason, justice, moderation, courage, gratitude, contentment, and kindness. If we practice these virtues, we can not only overcome the enemy, but also become better versions of ourselves. We will be able to not only avoid conflict but to build relationships. We can not only keep our peace but spread it. We will be able to not only defeat our enemy, but turn him into a friend. This is the true victory that Stoicism gives us. Thank you for your interest in this article. I hope it was useful and interesting to you.